in the strategy. As you might see, there is quite a substantial pledge within the strategy with regard to this particular direction, which is extension, and knowledge. And in fact, the agricultural extension is one of the areas, together with agricultural cooperative development, agricultural statistics, rural development, where EU is particularly active and committed and dedicated to support Georgia. Well, this is in compliance to the associated agreement on the one side, and on the other side, the process of the approximation to the EU, as well as the neighborhood policy envisions the particular support in this particular area. So the extension is included into EU's monitoring agenda to the state, as it is one of the preconditions of the EU's budgetary support to Georgian agriculture. So once again, just to highlight the areas. One is extension, another one is cooperative development, third one is agricultural statistics, and fourth one is rural development. So the preconditions for the budgetary support covers these four areas, where the extension plays a particularly important role. And the conditions and indicators with regard to the extension are also developed as the preconditions for disbursement of the budgetary support to the state from EU. So the specific conditions of EU budgetary support to the Ministry of Agriculture in relation to the development of extension system are based on two elements. Well, many of you might know about it, but once again, just to go through. One is at least 30 district level centers have been established. This is the indicator, that are fully equipped and are working according to plans and procedures and so on. So just jumping in front, instead of 30, the state has managed to establish 54 information consulting centers, so the extension units in the municipalities. As many municipalities exist, the same amount, the same quantity, each municipality has got the Ministry of Agriculture's information consulting center. And another specific condition is that the centers provide, it's more qualitative. The centers provide consultation and advice to small farmers based on international standards and proven models. This is kind of a quantitative indicator that EU qualitative indicator that EU closely monitors. As for the legal basis, the establishment of the consultation center is based on the ministerial decree, which has been issued in February 2013. Well, actually, these are two decrees on the creation of the information and consulting centers and the approval of their charter. Well, lately, I would say that this charter is quite comprehensive. It is even over comprehensive. We should confess that. And in addition, the regional centers, information and consulting centers are also established. So they have the different duties, including collecting information. This is not explicitly extension, but it incorporates different duties, where extension is part of it. But it incorporates also collecting information, presentation of analysis to the Ministry of Agriculture, agriculture policy promotion, disseminating information on programs, projects, subsidy schemes, and so on, and advising to farmers, meaning extension. So we are just dealing with the multitask units on the municipal level. In addition, and this is the part of the second measure under the strategy to enhance kind of academic structures for the agricultural education and to create a certain background for it, the special center, the legal entity under the public law, the Scientific Research Center of the Ministry of Agriculture, has been established in 2014. Although this is more of a research type institution, but still it is considered as an integral part of the extension system, state extension system of the country, as it undertakes certain research in all relevant fields, including economy, and it has 12 different divisions. It has certain number of demonstration plots in 16 different municipalities across the country, and it is also involved in the elaboration and distribution of different informational materials, as well as participating in developing of the training curricula for the local farmers. As well as it is also engaged in the process of developing certain sectoral development programs, kind of scientific support to the development of such programs. And there is a specific division within the ministry which coordinates the state extension system. It is a regional coordination department, the representative of which is present here. Well, some specific conclusions. We should say that proceeding from the fact that EU is very closely monitoring the processes of development of the state extension system in the country, as it is a part of the precondition for budgetary support. There's a quite comprehensive effort has been done by EU in terms of analyzing the situation as well as issuing the recommendations. So I have used also this as a point of reference because it is also up to the date information as well as it is ongoing effort. So we cannot ignore this particular chunk of information just to present certain conclusions to your attention. Well, the general attention is that all the information consulting centers and regional information centers possess adequate facilities and are fully equipped. This we can say. Plus, administratively, procedurally, and the reporting system is well in place and is operational. Plus, and this is a kind of innovation which is really encouraging, is that Ministry of Agriculture is thinking about developing the mobile extension services. This is in order to be capable to provide the advice for the marginal and distant upland areas, for example. So it's just the ministry has purchased specially equipped vans, which has got certain equipment inside it, kind of mobile laboratory for land, soil analysis, and so on. So we want to be capable to provide the advice on the spot in the areas where the poor access. And this is also very remarkable to mention that certain information, not all, but certain information consulting centers have facilitated the establishment of the so-called farmers' boards. This is quite an encouraging process, because by this, the extension services somehow ensures a reciprocally beneficial communication with the clientele who actually consumes its services. Not all, once again, but there are the centers. For example, I know a couple of them in San Miguel who have established such farmer boards. And at these farmer boards, these boards are mainly involved in supporting advisors to disseminate information to the farmers, as well as to they have easing their access to the big number of farmers, because the staffing of these centers are quite limited to cover all the farmers in the area they are responsible for. You can see here the figure. The information consulting centers serve between 8,000 to 20,000 farmers, and this is in the case that the average staff does not exceed 4 people in each center. So although I've said they are very well equipped, they are staffed, but the question is about the capacity. The capacity will be limited because, and they are overburdened, in fact, from 8,000 to 20,000 farmers per each ICC. Plus, it is also encouraging that each ICC has conducted a detailed mapping of the agricultural sector in the municipality, and it collects the ongoing information from the villages. For example, this big gap of the national statistics, which does not provide the information on the municipal level, because this information is not collected on the municipal level, this gap is easily fulfilled by the ICCs, especially in terms of the agricultural sector. So whatever we cannot derive from the statistics, we can easily derive from the ICCs. Well, during the EU mission, the EU interviewed ICCs, and the assessment is that the share of the extension activity per ICC is between 20 to 30% of the time. This is also quite important figure. Well, in addition, the capacitation process of ICCs is also going, and it's quite a high engagement of different international donors, organizations. For example, I can list here down the USAID, UNDP, FAO, as well as MPART consortium organizations are providing certain different trainings to ICCs, and not only specifically in agriculture, but also in the management. So you can see there is also a good trend of increase of such actions, capacitation actions, which in 2013 they have gone through 240 trainings, and now this is almost tripled. In 2014, there were 600 different training sessions that the ICCs have been through. Well, the estimation of each center is that they reach at least 20% of the farmers per municipality. This is their subjective estimation. Well, it differs from district to district, but the average trend is 20%. Here is also should be mentioned that the television is a very powerful tool to increase the coverage of the farmers. So it's a rough estimation that if TV is used properly, one can estimate that approximately 250,000 farmers can be indirectly received. So it's between 30–40% of all farmers in Georgia. And one particular fact is that, and it's quite a remarkable fact, how this system has been developed by the Autonomous Republic of Mađarska. And here you can see the different extension products that they have developed. That includes not only the printed information, but also the media materials, as well as the advices on the spot, as well as demo plots and different supply services, like for example in terms of seedlings. This is concentrated in one spot, which is an agriculture extension service under the Ministry of Agriculture of the Autonomous Republic of Mađarska. So this experience is quite remarkable. So on the part of recommendation. Well, the existing institutions structure for extension in Georgia at national, regional, district level can be seen as a best practice because it replicates certain best practices in the developed countries, particularly in the EU. Although a certain further evaluation is required periodically in order to be positioned up to date to the existing needs and demand. It is definitely required, especially it is also stipulated under the Strategy of Agricultural Development, and particularly its measure 321. The following areas for review have been recommended through the EU analysis, for example. Assessment of each district of farmers' needs, and to the best of my knowledge, this has been already done. Although this information is not official for the moment, that's why I haven't exposed it. But the ICCs already, as I mentioned, already have a certain background of information on the farmers' needs on the municipal level. So it is more or less done, and we hope that in practice it will be further implemented. Assessment at the level of each region of the need among ICCs. This is another angle, so to say, to be up to date. So not only farmers, but also these type of service units require certain periodical assessment. Plus, the assessment at the level, the assessment at national level of the need of regional centers. And to use these assessments when further developing the institutional structure and skills of the staff. Well, these recommendations have been more or less already presented to the Ministry of Agriculture, and as I know, the Ministry of Agriculture is in process of awaiting the certain last assessment from the European Union Commission. It is very important also to mention that, for example, currently, as it comes up to the extension centers are mainly concentrated on the purely agricultural advices, agronomy, livestock, processing, and so on, cultivation, and so on. But it is of the utmost importance also to address the need how to improve farmers' business skills. That's a great issue. And ICC can be successfully used as a platform also to develop such type of services to the farmers. It is quite a paradoxical situation. Me myself, as a development worker on the ground, I always experience, for example, when we are assessing farmers' knowledge needs, they always indicate the need of a certain agronomic production technology and so on, but they underestimate the importance of the business management skills. Normally, it's very low percentage of the farmers that identify that they need such need. But in fact, as we are dealing with investments, as we are dealing with businesses in rural areas, there is a big gap, and it will be very important to address it through the strategy as well as through these centers. The solution is required to tackle the limited number of staff and facilities to ensure a certain coverage of the farmers. Once again, I want to remember, for example, the farmers' boards that some ICCs have developed. That was in response. That was in the process of finding such solution. So currently, you can see currently each advisor has at least 2,500 farmers and maximum 3 minutes per each farmer. That's quite a challenging proportion in terms of ensuring relevant quality. Once again, I want to reiterate that extension service is not an explicit duty of ICCs, but it's one of the duties of ICCs. So under such multitask setup, it contains a risk of deficiency and overlapping that leads to the need of clear formalization of the division of ICC duties into data collection for the ministry, extension, cooperative promotion, and other tasks. So that needs to be, that requires the coordinated approach to rural development measures. For example, some interministerial coordination space is quite visible here to provide support in this regard to these centers. Farmers' boards, extension of this activity, that seems to be quite advanced solution, and it would be really nice that if somehow the Ministry of Agriculture addresses this particular area. That simplifies the duties of ICCs, plus it creates a kind of a bridge in between farmers and the service and the state service provider, and which is the most important. It also directly supports the capacitation of the farmers in order for them to create their own independent capacity to supply their own demand on the extension. And it requires a systemic support for continuous exchange of experiences among ICCs. It's also very important. For example, once again, the ICCs with the experience of establishment of the farmers' boards. It would be very nice somehow to organize kind of exposure visits of other ICCs to these centers to exchange an experience, to gain certain learning. So these platforms should be learning platforms between ICCs need to be developed. And of course, the strengthening cooperation with agricultural colleges, which is very important somehow to establish a very strong bridge with the academic and research and scientific institutions, ICCs, in order to provide them certain background. For example, Slovak experience exposes very clearly that this huge agricultural institute, this remarkable institute in Nitra, which is is a principal provider of such a background to the extensionists in the entire country. So this should be somehow actively replicated. Well, planning of the production of knowledge at national level. For example, the demonstration plots and the feed trials at the National Research Center, followed by systemic collection of information for purposes of national scientific analysis. This is also very much needed, and I would particularly expand on this in terms of somehow it would be also good if Ministry of Agriculture will use the opportunity to have the good information on the already developed existing demonstration plots in the country. There are numerous demonstration plots which have been established by different international organizations. For example, NEO project or NPART. I would roughly estimate almost 30 or 40 different demonstration plots, not non-state plots, which exist throughout the country. They cover different value chains, different production technologies, and it is not only about the primary production, but we can, for example, encounter different processing plots. For example, hydroponics production in some level. There are some plots existing. Some new value chains, especially with regard to berries or non-timber forest products, different things. So this is something that state can well, here I put a recommendation to conduct a national inventory of the demonstration plot. So what exists where, what kind of knowledge can it offer, and what kind of experience can be disseminated. And even the state can think about kind of a demo days demo day schedule, the annual schedule, where the farmers can participate upon their interest. It is also important to involve the users in the production of materials for dissemination. So, once again, the farmers' boards do have the role in this, as to keep the extensionists up to date to the demand. As well as it's very important to think about the periodical capacitation and qualification improvement of the staff of the centers. Well, for example, the EU specifically proposes that the Ministry of Agriculture should focus on the support to the provision of successful advice to farmers on production technology, as well as developing skills of the advisory service in farm management practices and tools. So, as I said, cultivation technology, agronomy on the one side, and farm management, financial management, business planning, risk analysis, marketing on the other side. Well, of course, the periodical upgradation of this stuff is absolutely required, so it should be part of the program, of the state, of the constant program. I will also name, in addition, some other recommendations that, for example, have been defined by you. It's also my presentation, also kind of an inventory of new recommendations as well, in a more systemic manner. So, frequently asked questions, extension advice and fora, Google Maps of extension workers, ticketing system, which allows farmers to request or bid for support in relation to an issue. That sounds really very interesting and innovative recommendations. Creation of the kind of an agri-forum, where the kind of a platform of the extensionists, where the state extension system could be a lead. And that would allow kind of a platform for the policy debates, for the protection of interests, for supplying the certain initiatives and advocating towards the state. There's a very interesting recommendation on the subsidizing extension by using extension vouchers. There is an experience of provision of the state direct subsidies for plowing, cultivation, some tools and so on through the voucher systems. So why not to provide a voucher system for the extension service? Well, of course, it will require very thorough consideration of which areas are under the particular demand, and to concentrate on this, because generally, as the farms in Georgia, the overwhelming majority are not commercial yet. They don't recognize that they will need to pay for the services. Unlike Slovakia, for example, where the private extension is more, let's say, popular than the state one. This is vice versa. So some introduction of the extension system on the school level could be also considered, especially for, well, of course, for the rural areas. And once again, to learn the lessons from the extension in Ajar, which proved to be very efficient, and which is under a very high demand from the side of the farmers. And some general food for thought for the future policy planning. So the government extension services and those which are largely publicly financed, they will continue to be under a certain pressure to become more efficient. avoid the need somehow that the state gradually can hand over these roles to the private sector. There is also the need of agricultural rural information advisory services is most likely to be intensified in the foreseeable future. For example, in context analysis, I showed you that in almost 4 or 5 years, the share of agriculture in the income base of the households has been very impressively increased. So there is an equilibrium in between the increase of demand for extension services with the increase of incomes from agriculture. It's absolutely logical that in the foreseeable future this demand will increase. So it's very important to be up to date. There is also I have taken some theoretical or even philosophical certain background on the extension that, for example, some of the most promising developments in extension methodology have occurred where the key agenda is on the environmental or is concerned with equity. For example, the need for the joint management of forests or the local forest users or the integrated pest management. Well, this requires this will be the demand on which will be very much increased. So it's very important once again to have that the agent extensionist is no longer seen as the expert who has all the useful information. So the extensionist is more seen as a kind of liaising point with the client. So the best extension product is derived from the very close collaboration between the farmer and the extensionist. And of course, globally, the rapid increase is expected and already takes place in the use of information technology in support of the extension. So particular attention to be paid to this. The mobile technologies, IT-based extension products. So this is more or less. I do not want to badly use your patience. So this is more or less what I wanted to present. Thank you very much for your attention. And any questions, I'm willing to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was really very comprehensive presentation and huge number of recommendations. It will be difficult to respond now regarding these recommendations. It needs detailed discussions with the ministry and other state institutions, and I think it will be really helpful in process of developing this policy documents and in order to improve the existing extension services. So now I think the floor is open for questions.
May I ask?
No.
I reserve this question. Why no applications for the measures you presented? What reason do you see that there is no demand?
No, the ministry hasn't applied a call for application. They haven't published. The ministry should act. There would be.
There was here is a question for you, Amira, because I should from Mexico. You mostly talked about the governmental extension system. Do we have in Georgia any kind of private extension system? Maybe some basics at least, and would we have assessment of its status, current status, and future development, if we have some?
Well, the current status of the private extension service providers is very low, even to somewhat even neglectable. But on the other side, it's mainly concentrated, somehow it's merged with the input suppliers, more or less. For example, the one who supplies the fertilizers or the seeds. It also incorporates certain function of provision of the extension, but there is no systemic business in the country as it is in the direct relation to the farmer's willingness to pay. The farmers do not will to pay for the extension.
Yeah, let me react to the one that farmers pay for this, but it's indirectly reflected in the cost of fertilizers, pesticides, or whatever which they purchase, and these guys get shared. That's why you can't really call it extension, because where I play is prohibited in Slovakia to promote this or that brand or this and that because the guys they in real life are sort of sales agents which also serve that function and it's prohibited. Only in several cases in the few crops emerge this private legal businesses, but bigger companies who want to have stable supply of high quality products, they go and work with the farmers. But it's still on a commercial purchasing power, purchasing based development assessment, and they of course do not pay for it, but it also reflects in the final price of the industry for their product. Wherever is the case, some vegetables in the West, herbs here, so there are some cases where it works. But this is mostly all private, because nobody can afford to do private extension, because farmers do not pay as much. And financially to set up private institutions for advisory, unless you have some big governmental orders like in most of the countries in the US or all, it's not profitable to private. So now we have like same substitutions for that you know very well.
If I can add to this, this private consulting business will develop hand in hand with introduction of EU legislation, maybe, and EU subsidy system.
Sure.
Because on one hand, it would be a conflict of interest for state administration to advise regarding subsidies, and on the other hand, if there is such administrative burden for the farmer that they will have no chance to manage by themselves, and also the state advisory system wouldn't manage to do it. So this is space for private businesses.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me we are talking about two a bit different things, and we call it by the same name. Because when we're talking about extension, we're talking about agronomists, veterinarians, this technical advice. But when we're talking about applying for new projects, reporting, making requests for the grants and proposals, it's also extension. But for this, guys are paid from EU funds, so it's a bit different. When we're talking about a particular tomato specialist advising.
Yes, here I see the space for state consulting services, but for private businesses, this is the area of EU funds. I understand your point, yes.
I have, maybe I'm wrong, but is there some kind of cases regarding, for example, like in membership, when the farmers are the member and they are paying for the membership, and then afterwards they can get this free consultancy, like I will pay monthly, I don't know, 2 or 5 lari every month, and upon necessity I'll get a free consultancy. So is it really?
They don't pay when they need it. Why they will pay if they maybe don't need it?
But
In real life, farmers are very practical. Farmers are very practical guys.
But exactly this was the price policy of the private consulting company I was
Yeah.
working
Ideally,
by the
maybe
last Friday.
it's not working.
Farmers paid €100 per month, and then they pick up phone and call. I need to that. Tell me.
But there are some cases For example, I want to remember Biofarmers Association. It has 700 organic farmers, so it provides certain extension to its member farmers in reciprocity to receive the membership fees. The same I can remember the Georgian Farmers Association with almost 1,200 farmers, but there is a such practice, as well as Hazelnuts Growers Association. But this is not a trend, unfortunately. It exists in certain value chains, in certain cases, but it's not a trend for the country. But these are very encouraging
But
cases.
if this case work, then maybe it should be somehow promoted, popularized, or
Okay, I would say that
work.
I'm a Jew, I can say this. Now, bottom line is of the organizations which are mentioned and others. Yeah, they receive very minor part of their revenues from this source. They implement projects, they get donor funding, so no organization can be self-sustainable on their things. That's the reality. ELCA, the Biofarmer Association, is implementing 7 or 8 different projects, and this one can somehow cross-subsidize. When we're talking about private sector extension, it's also cross-subsidized, in one case from the cost of pesticides and fertilizers, from other side from their purchasing price and selling price. So directly, business that receives money for services and delivers these services and is self-sustainable doesn't really exist in Georgia. There are different modules, different schemes, one by one mentioned, second hierarchy discussed, third of like general. So these are all tested, and in the stage of introduction, development, we are at this stage right now.
But this kind, is it possible that this type of service exists also via these governmental ICCs, for example, information centers, that they also receive this membership fees as well, and this could somehow support their development, increase minimal but still increase their income somehow, and give them some kind of possibilities to have better consultants or recruitment consultants.
A bit different. There are ideally it can be done, or in idea it can be done. Let me say not ideally, but in idea. Financially, they are not allowed to take money from religion.
But this LTDs, SIP Epiromalia, they can also get
But
some
these
kind
are
of
not limited, these are public laws. These territorial bodies are power
Ministerial bodies.
ministerial bodies.
So it's legal issues. You should reschedule them. Maybe it will be rescheduled. It can be because sooner or later they should receive money from farmers from private consulting. And it will come. But still, what I'm saying is not there right now. But in the longer run, of course, they should be able to generate extra streams of revenues, and then hopefully these revenues will be enough that government will pay them any money. I haven't seen it in the law, but still, it's practically a goal.
because they need some kind of more incentives somehow to disseminate these consultancy and the information, because I don't know how exactly they're working, but if they are paid, they are doing consultants or not, it's like I don't know how well they will do the job.
This is our information consultancy centers.
Yes.
We have the guy in front of you who can answer the question best. So,
How these consultancies
Hello.
work. So I'm not speaking.
მოგესალმებით ყველას პირველ რიგში. როგორც იცით, მე და მოკლედ ვისაუბრώ საინფორმაციო საკონსულტაციო სამსახურების ფუნქციონირებას და მუშაობას. რაიონის სპეციფიკიდან интересы ребята.